Salty Gorman never cared for flying. He was a practical man, or at least he had been prior to Peggy's death. 79 years young, he'd spent the majority of his life toiling in the dirt, digging trenches for underground electrical wires through suburban New England neighborhoods. He'd never been on a plane, and the highest he'd ever ventured off the ground was the height of a utility pole back when he'd first begun apprenticing. The dirt had given him and Peggy a good life. A roof over their heads, food on the table. It had even allowed him to pay for 3 college tuitions, since none of their children had cared to follow in his footsteps. His eldest had become a pharmacist. His middle, an accountant for some big law firm out of New York. His youngest had experienced a panic attack and dropped out during her final semester. She'd taken a job at a used car dealership, and shortly thereafter married one of the mechanics. Salty had been sore about that for a while, but the 2 grandchildren that followed more than made up for the lost tuition. Every good thing in his life had come from the dirt. It was a part of him, as much as he was a part of it. It lived in the crevices of his shoes. He breathed it in his lungs and dug it out from beneath his fingernails at the end of each day. Even in the wake of Peggy's passing, when the light of the world dimmed and life had lost all meaning, it was the dirt that drew him back. The rich, dark earth called out to him. It reminded him of who he'd been and what it was to laugh and love. Unfortunately, toiling in the dirt was not without consequence. 3 decades digging through soil still frozen from the long New England winters had worn his joints smooth, and the bones of his knees scraped against one another, audibly clicking as he sucked in a labored breath. He couldn't run. Those days were long in his rear view. But he managed a kind of rushed hobble, knees stiff as he crossed the college yard. The lights of Gasson Hall burned bright against the night, casting sharp shadows across its Gothic adornments, and the heavy clock hands situated along its exterior. 4 stories tall, ornate stonework windows adorned its central tower, a quartet of spires set atop its crown, stretching up into the night sky. 2 doorways lined its base, opposite a raised planter lined with benches where students could sit and stare out across the green. There were no students now. Boston College was dark and quiet, the residents who roamed the grounds during the day having long since retired to their dorms for the evening. Salty tried to hasten his step, but the movement cost him. His foot slipped, and a pained cry tore past his throat as he tumbled to the ground.